call.
Chisel. Neal. Here. Olson.
Here.
Luce.
Here.
Zittigerun.
Here.
Hadley.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Where'd Travis go?
Doing on vacation.
Okay,
Poor guy went from one meeting to the
Okay.
next.
well, I'm looking
get
for
it.
him for public comment. Is there anybody from the public which would like to speak for an item that is not on the agenda? And I know Travis has a comment as soon as he gets back. Would you like to speak? It'd be great to hear from you, Chris.
Great. Well, thank you. Chris Rigg, RYGH, Prairie Lakes Church. I want to thank the council for your patience and encouragement. We, several months ago, brought to you a request for a rezoning of property in the industrial park. Realized that I think what was on the table is an inferior solution, and there was appropriate pushback and concern. And so last week, after talking with City Attorney John Anderson, Travis, Mayor, we made a decision to pull back our application in order to sort of start over with a better approach. And I think it'll be yours to work through with us. I don't want to jump the gun, but I think we can bring a better solution which honors your concerns and still allows us to function as a church at that location. So we will we'll work through the process. And again, I appreciate your patience and questions.
Okay. Travis, did you have anything to add on that?
I just point out Chris has been really great to work with throughout. Obviously, this has been quite the process, and so it's been a pleasure working with him. If I ever have questions or if he has questions of me, I think we've got a pretty good communication between the two of us.
Okay. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate the consideration from both council and the church. Sometimes you have to back off, take another look, and make sure that we're successful working.
Right.
Thank you for the letter.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome. Yeah. Very
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak to the council about anything that's not on the agenda? Hearing none. Consent agenda.
Item A, minutes of the January 18th, 2022 City Council regular meeting, Council work session January 18th, 2022, Council work session January 31, 2022. Item B, claims. Item C, tax abatement approval, Jordan Mossman, 1506 Jordan Drive, new construction. Item D, tax abatement approval, Perch Pack LLC, 201 Hilltop Drive, remodel. Item E, approved Class C liquor license from Fairway Store. Item F, approved Class C liquor license with outdoor service and Sunday sales for T-Box Sports Bar and Grill. Item G, approved Class E liquor license, including Sunday sales for Hy-Vee.
I move the consent agenda for approval.
I'll second.
Moved by Luce, seconded by Zittigerun. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruin,
Aye.
Chisel, Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Very good. Consider approval of Westerheim Common Site Plan.
All right, so the public hearing and easement that goes with this corresponding site plan was discussed at the last council meeting and approved. And so the concern listed by staff, concerns too strong a word, but the item of note from staff was that easement that has already been granted. So the city engineer's letter, that was the only item for that need to be addressed. Again, just as a reminder, that easement was for at-grade lighting that projects up on the building, as well as the foundation for the building extending slightly into the right-of-way. Again, subgrade.
And I see Chris is here if anybody has any questions.
P&Z also did recommend approval of site plan.
And historic preservation as well.
That's what it says.
So a motion to approve contingent on the recommendations from the city engineer, is that the appropriate thing to do here?
That was the only one, right, Jeremy? Just the easement? And that's already been met. Yeah, so don't even need a pending staff.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan of Westerheim Commons as presented.
Luce would second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Luz, to accept Westerheim Commons site plan. Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel.
Very good. That'll be fun. Consider North Alley Business District Master Plan request for qualifications. This is an RFQ. Want to give some information on that, Travis?
Yes. So this project has been something that I've communicated with Mark Lane. It's something that was identified during the interview process, during one-on-one meetings with council members shortly after my hire, that figuring out whatever North Alley, Hively, the school property, the city property, we need to work together to figure this out. It was something expressed to me by council members, again, one-on-one settings during the interview process. Worked with Mark Lane to put this together on being a collaborative effort between the city and the school, as well as the downtown businesses. So on Wednesday, I did discuss and ask if the Decorah Downtown Betterment Association would serve as that third leg of this, if you will. And they did agree unanimously and wanted to voice tremendous support for some more in-depth planning for that area. And I'm aware the city has participated in community visioning and the downtown assessment, but what this RFQ would do is put out to architectural or landscape architectural firms, whether that be a collaborative effort on their part or all in-house, to work with the school and figure out what's the footprint. If a school goes in there, what's that footprint? And then the landscape architects, through the interviews with the city officials, school officials, downtown businesses, figuring out what the needs are for the community, that's where the landscape architect comes in and says, you can make this fit in these different areas. So this RFQ does not obligate the city to actually enter into a contract with anyone on planning services, nor does it obligate the city to do anything as a result of this plan. But what it would do is get the community one step further into better
Shared
utilization
decision-making.
of the space.
Thank you. I think it's great. There's been so many different plans and different takes on the area. I think bringing people together and centrally planning in conjunction with stormwater and road streets down the road, pardon the pun, would be wonderful. And I think it'll be exciting to see the RFQs come back again with no obligation to us. So it seems like a win-win, and I appreciate your time in putting it together.
I move the issuance of the RFQ.
I second.
Motion made by Zittergruen, seconded by Neal, to move the RFQ ahead.
I'll just say one thing during the discussion part, that I noticed that part of the RFQ was asking for a plan to increase traffic flow. And I think that you know, I hope that that's not taken as a permanent license for what will happen in the plan. One great way to improve traffic flow is to allow for more intermodal transport. A lot of parents don't feel safe letting their kids walk and bike down there. If they felt safer, there'd be less cars. It'd be easier for everyone. So, I mean, hopefully we're thinking about this from all angles. Just want to make sure that it's not all about getting cars through there.
Roll call?
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel.
Very good. Once again, it's really going to be great to start moving a little bit and see what can be done. Consider approval of union contract.
Yes, okay, so hopefully everyone was able to follow track changes well enough. I did also summarize in the notes. The negotiating committee on behalf of the city was myself, Carrie, and Kirk as chair of the personnel committee. Met, and I believe discussions went very well with staff. So the tentative agreement that was ratified unanimously by the union members, proposed changes include some slightly clerical. For example, the PD administrative assistant records clerk was still operating under the old contract title of part-time dispatch. We don't do that anymore. So there was some changes to that. Some changes on, so that shift was 8 to 4 since it was dispatching with a 30-minute on-site. There's no longer the need for that to be on during the entirety of that shift. Said 30-minute lunch off-site. And then 8 to 4:30. We did clarify holiday language for weekends. Excuse me. So there was language in there that, you know, if holiday falls on a Saturday, or we inserted language that if holiday falls on a Saturday, it's applied to Friday. If holiday falls on a Sunday, it's applied on Monday. And we talked about Christmas holiday, which has half Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, how those adjust as well. So we did some clarifying language there. Let's see, PD, and I'm referring to officers specifically, compensatory time, holiday, vacation times. We did make changes to reflect they were operating under an 8-hour shift contract. They currently work 12-hour shift. So we made changes to reflect going from 5/8 to the 4/12, 3/12 type. Let's see here. For all staff on vacation, the proposed changes are currently 1 week of vacation is earned after a year. We did propose moving that up to 6 months, but that then has to last a full 18 months. They're getting the same amount of vacation time, they're just getting it 6 months sooner. And then in what's currently 4 weeks of vacation earned after 15 years, and we are proposing to move that up to 14, and 5 weeks of vacation are earned after 20 currently, and that's proposed to move up to 18. 40 hours of sick leave can be used for care of others, you know, dependents, partners. Currently that language is 32. There's 2 full paragraphs, that's verbiage on sick pay and the calculation that can be used towards the pay of health insurance premiums. We did change that, but kept the math the same. We basically did the math for it. And then we did remove, at the request of the employees, we removed critical illness, which had an added definition, and simply specified FMLA qualifying event for the definition. Did add fire engineers paid at the regular rate of pay for off-duty fire calls when called by the city manager or designee. There were some before, if they were called in and they were an employee, but they were also in the volunteer department, they were paid their volunteer rate. I did clarify with the employees that this is to perform their city employee tasks. So if they get called in, they must be a fire engineer. They're not going interior and fighting fires on this call. Let's see here. Wages are proposed 3-year adjustments for primarily PD. The rest of the departments are 2-year adjustments. That does also include a year 1, 3.9% across the board. Years 2 and 3 will be left open to negotiations. The wage adjustments cannot be discussed if approved. They cannot be discussed in years 2 and 3. It can only be in across the board. The reason for doing a year 1 only and leaving it open for 2 and 3 is we're seeing a rather unusually high CPI this year, and thought not a good idea to lock in years 2 and 3, not knowing what the future's going to look like. Questions from council?
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
And I'll say first, thank you so much. This is, a lot of hard work by you and Kirk and the union. Thanks for doing it. And I'm obviously not looking to change the package now or anything, but just curious if you could speak to how we handled vacation for PD, given their move to 12-hour shifts. In my reading of the contract, it looks like every week of vacation that they earn, it's counted as the 4 and not the 3, which means that they're kind of getting 48 hours of vacation. Am I understanding that right?
Right. It's the way PD works. Their work week, for the sake of vacation, is calculated on 4 as opposed to what used to be 5/8. Now it's on 4-day work weeks. So it is 48 as opposed to 40. Because they were being 5 days was 1 week of vacation.
Even though half the weeks they work, they only work 3 shifts. Is that 3 12-hour shifts?
3 12s.
They
They go
average
4 and then 3, right?
yes.
So they average 3.5. Is that an accurate sort of thing to say?
So in a 2-week pay period,
Yeah.
they are working 7 days.
So they average 3.5 per week over the
Correct.
year.
Yes.
And that's the thing that made me curious, why we were counting every week of vacation as 4 full shifts when on average they're only 3.5. It seems like we're actually giving away quite a lot of officer time, which I like it when our officers are on duty. I'm just curious if there was reasoning for that, or if that's just kind of how it came out.
That is how it came out. We did not propose 3.5. No, that was just how it came out. Yep. Correct. So the steps, those are part of those position adjustments over 3 years. The PD portion, the step portion there, the aggregate over 3 years is $3.25 over 3 years. The amount in increase each year, did I say 3.5 or 3.25? I said 3.25, right? Yes, it is $3.25 over those 3 years. Depending on which step, it will see either a sharper increase on the front end or more on the back end. Right now, with 5 steps, the most senior officer is very close to the same rate of pay as a 1-year officer. So what they were trying to accomplish and was getting that higher ranking officer, getting some distance, I guess, separation, for lack of a better term, in those early years, and then the lower steps would then catch up. I believe there was a full breakdown in the Dropbox that of it doesn't have employee names, but it's got each individual employee, and then those the position adjustments plus 3.9% across the board in year 1, and then year 2 it's got the position adjustments, and then the year 3 as well.
And does this, so we have not taken a stab at the matrix yet. Is this going to, I mean, I feel like we should now make that more of a priority, trying to figure out how this fits in with,
Correct.
The
And
matrix.
Kirk, maybe you want to speak more to your thoughts on
Are we talking about the
the non-union.
administrative
non-union
non-unions?
employees.
I think, we've talked about, we've talked about getting together and talk about all of these positions in the future, and I think we would like to do that this year and get some things changed going forward and
I'd-
equalized out.
I'd like to see that as a priority sooner than later.
Agreed.
Every,
Yep.
well, I don't have to go on, it's like a broken record, how many times we get to this point and we don't do anything, and that's not acceptable.
I think that our past staff have sort of put things on the back burner because of the situations we were in with the lots of changes last year. No one wanted to do anything, and I won't take any credit for that. I think that we should sit down and talk about these things very soon.
There we
So.
go.
And one area that I might point out that there's probably going to be a decent amount of need, and I hope some of the lower tier administrative staff in PD, for lack of a better term, but the sergeants. I believe now a step 4 and 5 police officer would both make more than a sergeant, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So why,
So,
can we just, like, actually say, let's get this done, like, in March? I mean, we've got February, we've got March.
Well,
Or at least start having meetings. It's gonna take more than one
We
meeting.
approve this
yeah, I was
contract. I would move it to be approved.
Is that's separate from the consider approval of the union contract?
I get it. It's just that
So-
in approving this, then we have to recognize it. Then I feel like there's also I mean, this should be approved. This is what should
That's
happen.
correct.
I
That's
just don't
correct.
want to then leave another half of our employees
No, I
hanging.
agree.
the
I
employees
agree.
won't let me, trust me.
Okay, well,
Neither will I.
I just had one more
I'll-
question on this. That 3.9%, can go up or down in year 2 or 3 based on the CPI, either
It's
up or down?
open for negotiation,
okay.
so that will reconvene for each one of those.
and actually these start July 1, right?
Correct.
So then I think we could just make a commitment as council that by July 1, we have everybody's pay figured out.
Well, I think we should do this incrementally and not necessarily with this coming budget, but in a future budget. Yes, I don't know that we can change it for.
Well, so we would have to wait another, I mean, that seems like unfair.
Now, I think the discussion, the union part you vote on, but the other piece needs to have the discussion right away and not work.
Right, we can talk about it, but whether or not we can afford to just in the middle of a budget year add a bunch of money to our budget is another matter.
But we haven't
there's-
approved our budget yet.
The budget is drafted with the union negotiations and 3.9% across the board for all staff, including administrative, and potential step increases for each staff. So that it is prepared, but if any adjustments were to be, let's call it out of the ordinary, if any of those are above that, then it would be within the department heads to make sure that they operate their budget that can absorb that.
John, Steve made a motion to approve quite a bit ago. Is it okay to second, even though there's been a bunch of, okay, I second the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion made by
Zeus.
Luce, seconded by Bittergruen, to approve the union contract. We've had discussion, roll call.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel, Neal,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Okay, then, that being said, Kirk and Travis, I'd like you to set up a meeting for further discussion as far as the non-union personnel is concerned. Okay. Consider purchase of a K-9. I'm going to give background on that, or we've had discussion on it, so
I'll give a real brief. So this is being brought to council because with it being incorporated in the budget for fiscal year '23, but the council has, until the budget's not approved yet, council can reduce and remove any aspect until approval on tentatively March 7th. So in order for the PD to move forward prior to budget approval, I've requested Chief Smutzler come and that we get council approval prior to going and picking up the K-9 unit or purchasing one.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to come back. I know there's a lot of items on the agenda today, so thank you. Just kind of a recap, the police department's looking at starting a K-9 unit. The dog is a single-purpose dog. Again, that means narcotics detection, tracking, and emotional support. There's not a bite dog, it's not an apprehension dog. Decorah Police Officer Nick Yanoff has done the research on putting together a K-9 program. He came to me and said, I want to work K-9, can we look at this? He's chosen a local kennel, Iron Ridge in Waukon, for the dog. The dog's name is Loki. It's a 1-year-old German Shepherd. He plans on attending Code Blue K-9 in southeastern Minnesota for the training. Both kennel owner and dog trainer have raved about this dog, both for community relations and narcotics work. Cost of the program is in your CIP. If anybody needs a copy of one, I've got one here. I also asked Carrie to put them in the Dropbox. Approximate cost of the program is $10,700. We've secured a grant for $7,500. That money's in hand. The cost of that, or that money will cover the cost of the dog and the setup of the motor vehicle, the K-9 car. As Travis said, those are items that we're looking to purchase right now to use that money. There's a chance that we lose that dog if we don't purchase that dog. The remaining costs will be covered by donations, further grant applications. Annual cost of the dog is expected to be about $1,300. We receive local discounts in order to get to this dollar amount. Vet care and food vendors have lowered their costs so that we could benefit from that. I've added $700 to the budget line item just to cover any incidentals that come up, so the budget line item would be $2,000. It is my hope that none of that money gets touched. I think that with donations and the grants that Officer Yanoff's working on, that I don't know if we ever touch that $2,000 in a budget line item. K-9 handler is federally mandated to be compensated for K-9 maintenance and care. The way that most agencies handle this are one of three ways: a lump sum payment, half-hour overtime every day payment, or you grant 1 hour leave per shift for that K-9 handler. I spoke to Officer Yanoff about it, spoke to the city manager about it, and we would look at the last one. We'd grant 1 hour leave per shift. Additional grants that we're looking at to help cover the costs are Quick Star grant, Walmart grant, Casey's, Fairway, Hy-Vee, Culver's, Gunderson, the local depot, Community Foundation, National Police Chief Association, National Police Dog Association. Other monies would come from fundraisers, looking at an annual fun run, looking at t-shirt sales. We would have a community welcome to Decorah fundraiser. Nick has been putting one together. It'd be a meet and greet for the community to come out and meet the dog. It would be some fun events for kids where you'd make puppy chow. You'd have an agility course for kids to go through, and K-9 demonstration. I know community donations would all come into play too. I ran a K-9 unit for 10 years here in Decorah. That's what funded our K-9, was community donations. K-9 program speaks very well of our agency as well as the city of Decorah. It shows a progressive police department. It assists with officer retention. It's a specialized unit. When we go to career fairs to try to recruit college career fairs and other agencies show up, they bring their K-9 unit. That's something they use to help recruit officers. We've spoken with the schools in Decorah. Every one of them is open to having the dog come in and be used for programming. This also helps benefit us in community outreach programs. When I worked K-9, half of my time was spent with community relations and programs. The other half was narcotics detections and searches. After we presented to the council very first time gets away from me, so I don't want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, but the very first time we addressed the council with the canine proposal, I've had 2 groups reach out to me and say, if you get the dog, can you come to us and let us see the dog and explain how the dog works? One is special needs adults, so we go talk to a group of them. The second one is a high school summer program. When I worked K-9, Lorraine Mayer, I don't know if you were in the library at the time, but we were asked to bring the dog in for summer reading programs to help get kids to read. So it look beyond just K-9 searches or lost people. Community relations right now are kind of a big deal for law enforcement. You've all seen the news, you've all seen what's going on in our realm. So any opportunity we get out of the cars to speak to people, I think benefits us greatly. Just kind of a quick rundown.
Thanks, Chief. I appreciate that information. It looks like you and Officer Yannick have done a really commendable job of putting this together, trying to come up with grants so it basically isn't going to cost the city much of anything. I see this being a win-win for the city. We're basically going to be spending no money, but gaining all the public benefits that a dog can bring, not only for on-the-job purposes, but just a community thing to show off to people and promote the community and the goodwill it'll bring in schools and things like that. So I think it's a win-win. I appreciate what you guys have done.
Well, thank you. Nick's done a lot of work.
I do want to note, just for clarification, that as Dave pointed out, there is a line item in there of $2,000 in the budget that he hopes that doesn't get touched. It will always show up as an expense. If the project moves forward, it's going to show up as an expense. But what I believe Chief Smutsler was getting at is there will be offsetting grant revenue. That'll show an inflow. It's money in, money out is what he's hoping. So if this moves forward, I don't want anyone to say, you said it wouldn't cost the city a dime and there's $2,000 in expenses.
That is a super helpful comment, Travis. Thank you very much.
Want to make sure.
And authorization would come following the approval of the budget on the 21st.
No, I think they're looking for
So that's
authorization.
why
today.
it's on the
Right
agenda
now.
today.
Okay.
I would make a motion to move approval for the purchase of the K-9 unit currently in this fiscal year, knowing that grants will secure the dog. And I think, again, I want to echo what Kirsten said. I think it's a great program. I think the benefits will go far beyond what you're even knowing right now. I think when I first heard of it and looked it up, I think that younger children in their DARE programs, when there's a dog there, pay far more attention, are far more interested. And so even if it prevents one child from going that direction, I think that's worth it. So I'm very happy with the program. Thank you. And so I'd like to make a motion that we bring Loki to Decorah.
I will second that motion.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Olson. Further discussion?
I'll just state my objection, as I have before, that this is a duplication of services that's already provided by the county that we pay for as taxpayers.
Any further discussion?
I'll just note that, and I've shared this with the chief before, I wish that there was a little bit more comprehensive gathering of other costs besides just the dollars and cents coming out of the city budget. I value Officer Yannick's staff time quite a bit, and this doesn't really account for the fact that he'll be doing comp time instead of, making our community safer on the streets. I think it's probably worth it. I'd like to have seen the value of that time accounted for. I actually saw McCoy up at Casey's on the way down here, and the car was idling, and that reminded me, well, we're probably going to burn about 200 or 300 more gallons of gas than we otherwise would have, and that's not a lot of money in the grand scheme, but I would have appreciated a more, I guess, intentional effort to really try to figure out all of the costs that were in this thing. I still think, even if I'm way overestimating, I still think that what I came up with is worth it. So I'm in favor.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Aye.
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 No.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Hey, thank you very much.
See the dog. Okay. Consider Consider approval of letter of support and matching funds for the IDALS Water Quality Initiative Stormwater Grant application.
Okay, this is an application, there was a pre-application submitted by staff for grant funds on stormwater projects. Staff worked with RC&D, or as staff should say RC&D, for various projects in and around the core, including the daycare, including Westerheim, Westerheim, County Conservation. That's where the wetlands is at, sorry. And then out by Holland, that's the same one, right?
The wetland will be out just south of the proposed driveway trail, the constructed wetland project, Watershed. And then we have a fire retention cell at the our daycare, and then about 35 acres of, I'd say, the interior of the levy, and prairie from our Eagle. Behind high school, and behind here, we have a lot of area now that just gets mowed, and we are about $700,000 worth of project.
So about 200,000 in projects. The letter of support, as well as just, it's not just authorizing the mayor to sign, would also obligate $64,750 cash match to the grant application, as well as $27,500 in-kind staff time.
I'd make a motion to support the letter of support and matching funds for the IDALS project.
I second it.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Neal. Further discussion?
How actively managed is a prairie? I mean, obviously, when you have grass, you have to mow it all the time. I know there's stuff that goes into keeping a prairie a prairie. Is it just burning once in a while, or?
I'll let Andy answer that.
Mowing in sections, but maybe all of it every 3 or 4 years, if that goes through.
Thanks.
I think that'd be an important factor to treat them.
Thank you. But cheaper probably overall ongoing than
Less
mowing.
gas.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Better water
You're
retention.
talking about prairie, something similar to what's over behind Ossie Haugen there, on the other side of the dike, between the dike and the river there? Yep, okay.
I think it's a wise step to take to do our concerns about runoff and slowing things down and retaining it and putting our bucks to work, and what we say is important.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Aye.
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 Aye?
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider resolution 3243, accepting the Pole Line Road Bridge as completed. Do you want me to say that slow? Yay.
Okay, so I might have Jeremy's on site if there's more questions for this, but Pole Line Road Bridge is open. WHS did a final inspection on it, came back with thumbs up. Project was $1,101,636.36. That's what the awarded project was. Final cost came in at $1,053,420.73. So pretty close estimate, just under the estimated project cost there. This action would be to accept it as final, and then we would make then the final payment.
And second that.
Yep, go ahead.
Motion made by Randy, seconded by Olson. Any further discussion?
Is it IDOT or Fed funds is that what we need to do, close this out so we can apply for reimbursement? Because they're,
So we've already submitted one reimbursement.
yeah, great. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none? Well, that's interesting. Is one of the, do we wait until they come back or what? Okay, good. Okay. Roll call.
Aye.
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 Yeah, very good. Thank you. Consider purchase of bucket truck for street department?
Sorry, my mic wasn't on. So this item is similar to the K-9 discussion, but slightly different. If the council remembers during budget discussions, the budget truck was presented in the capital projects.
You're calling
But-
it a budget truck, which is, I'm sorry, hilarious.
Oh, sorry.
I think
We got to get that budget done.
Scrooge McDuck's money truck.
You go get that budget truck. and-
Right? We're going to use it to pick the leaves off the money tree out back. So the bucket truck was presented in the budget as no payment due in fiscal 23, but then a 3-year lease purchase of 24, 25, 26. And we had every intentions of going that route. That would then allow staff to secure the truck in fiscal 23 and apply those payments later. The vendor called and told staff, I've got 2 of them. If you want one, speak now, and I can get you one. So this is where it's slightly different. The K-9, the funds were not budgeted for fiscal 23. So a payment would show up in 23 as it's currently proposed, because that would be within our that'd be our first payment due for the lease purchase. The street department does have an equipment reserve fund that could pay for the fiscal 23 payment, and this would also require a $10,000 down payment that would then be applied to the lease purchase. So this is a request from the street department to move forward with this bucket truck, get it ordered. We'd show delivery. If ordered tomorrow, delivery would be April. And then that first payment would come out of fiscal 23.
And we're using the fund that we have established to do these type of things?
Right, it's an equipment reserve fund that,
Don't we have money from this budget because we allocated for a bucket truck, which we then shifted to get a leaf vac, which we do not have, so couldn't we use that money?
correct, so that could carry this year as well.
All right, I would move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Chisel, seconded by Neal. Any further discussion?
And the price is the same, I assume? Yep, okay.
Roll call?
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider purchase of survey equipment for street department?
Okay, so I swear in the future, we're not gonna see that many of these come up, but it's the same thing again as the K-9. This is a budget purchase for fiscal 23, but this would have an extremely short return on investment if we can purchase this and use in-house staff to perform the surveying and planning needed in the spring. So what we'd like to do is have council approval that it will be allocated as a fiscal 23 project, but as Randy pointed out, we have funds. This is where those the leaf vac allocation, we're going to point out and use that for this fiscal year to pay for it actually this fiscal year.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved for approval by Randy, seconded by Luce? Seconded by Steve Luce. Any further discussion? The timeliness of getting this is extremely beneficial as far as pre-construction year season and what we can do in-house as well.
If the equipment's
Correct.
available.
Okay,
And the equipment is available and would be seen in March.
2 weeks?
okay,
Buy stuff when you can.
okay. All right,
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, Andy, if you can make Summer get here earlier, if you want that diving board?
okay, roll call?
Chisel,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Very good. Okay. Consider acceptance and approval of Boulevard easement lease termination agreement with A&M Coffee LLC.
Okay, so this is terminating the first lease agreement that's already been approved. The Boulevard easement lease is the sign. Think sign whenever you hear Boulevard easement. This would be terminating the one that council's already approved.
I'd make a motion to terminate the lease as presented.
Luce, second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Luce to terminate the current. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Hadley,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Conduct a public hearing and driveway easement with Elmore Properties LLC. Can you give some background before we do that public hearing?
If you want to open the public hearing and that I can perform,
I'd love to.
perfect.
I open the public hearing on the driveway easement with Elmore Properties LLC.
Okay, so driveway easement, not sign, is driveway. That's the city-owned parcel adjacent to the property that, if you remember when we were discussing site plan, there were some questions on whether it was, when it was accepted as part of that stormwater improvement on Short Street there to, why am I drawing a blank? Not box culvert. What's the structure there? It is a box culvert. Okay. So that the city would maintain ownership of that box culvert there. The question came up of, is it right-of-way or is it city-owned parcel? It's a parcel, so in order for 901 Short, which is gonna be where the coffee shop goes, they need to have a driveway easement from the city to be able to access that parcel through ours. We should then go to Malcolm and Weiss and get a similar a similar easement, because all three properties access theirs off of Short through our parcel. So this is the public hearing on it. No written objections, right? No written objections received.
Is there anybody present who wishes to speak to this public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider Resolution 3244 approving driveway easement with Elmore Properties LLC.
Okay, so Almer Properties is who will own the land. A&M Coffee will then rent the land from Almer to operate a scooters. This is very common in commercial enterprise where it's a separate entity owns the real estate and a separate entity operates the business on it. So that's why this is coming back from the signs perspective, is Almer Properties is the owner, A&M Coffee operator.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 344, approving the driveway easement with Almer Properties.
Second.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Luz for approval of Resolution 3244. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call.
Neal,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Okay, conduct a public hearing on Boulevard easement lease with AM&M Coffee LLC.
Okay, this is again, Boulevard easement is signed.
Okay.
Got it.
It's the same proposal. It includes language that identifies Almer Properties as the owner of the land, A&M operating. The lease is with A&M because it's going to be their sign. The changes, as discussed at the last meeting when the public hearing was set a month ago, The proposed changes from the original include extending from 25-year term to 30, which is the term of the lease between Almer and A&M, and just that language again identifying ownership of property.
I'd move resolution 3245.
What was the public hearing, right?
Nope, we gotta close the public. Oh,
And
wait.
I'm not, Mayor, I don't think you opened the public hearing.
I think I heard two people say I haven't opened it yet. Thank you. Oh, rats, I was really doing good, too. Okay, I'm gonna open the public hearing on Boulevard easement lease with A&M Coffee LLC. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to this item?
Again, no written objections received.
Okay, thank you. That being said, I'm gonna close the public hearing.
I'd move the resolution.
Nope.
Okay, so I have Luce moving with seconded Neil.
Yeah, yeah, I thought we couldn't do it, but yeah, we're good.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I'm gonna really briefly explain. What's so funny?
Nothing really.
I think
it's pretty waiting.
hilarious.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it that I've never done something briefly before?
Well, that's part of it.
right.
Okay. Well, I want to briefly. I want to briefly explain why I'm going to vote no, just to put it out there. I'd be more inclined to support, anything we have to do to make life easier and potentially more successful for a business coming in. I think new businesses are good. But I guess my biases, I think the things that make the towns even better are when those businesses are locally owned, when they're not part of a nationwide chain, when they're providing a service that isn't already widely provided. Now, obviously, if they're zoning conforming and want to operate business, I'm glad that they have the right to do that. And that said, I don't necessarily need to give away public land to allow for a bright sign to serve a company that's not locally owned, is part of a chain, and we've got a lot of coffee shops. So I'm going to vote no.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Luce,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
No.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel, Olson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Conduct a public hearing on proposed fiscal year 23 maximum levy rate. Would you like me to open the public
Would
hearing
you consider
first?
opening the public meeting?
Pardon?
Would you consider opening?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to open the public hearing on proposed fiscal year 23 maximum levy rate.
Okay,
Add any correspondence on it?
no written objections received.
Okay.
Any oral objections received?
That's the opportunity tonight.
Or prior, like, have you gotten any phone calls or anything?
Just from council members trying to help figure out what a fiscal 23 max levy rate is that doesn't reflect debt service, but a little sarcasm there.
Just a little.
Okay. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to this here fiscal year 23 maximum levy rate? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing.
I would move 3247 for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Luz, seconded by Whittaker? Yes. To approve the proposed fiscal year 23 maximum levy rate. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider Resolution 3248, setting a public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 23 budget, March 7th,
So moved.
22.
Second.
Excuse me. Okay, we have a motion and a second for setting the public proposed fiscal year 23 budget on March 7th, 2020. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Chisel,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider preliminary resolution 3246 for 2022 alley improvement project.
So this was discussed at the street committee, and I'm gonna have Jeremy drive this one primarily.
Yeah, so, actually, I'll refer to John some as well. As discussed in the street committee, the council desires to assess and close alley projects and four alleys proposed, by the fiscal 23 street plan. This is the first step, in that process. This week is, directing us to start putting together plans and specs
No, we're trying to break it up a little bit more than what we've done in the past. Not that the way we did it in the past was wrong, but trying to slow it down now that we have time. I mean, some years we were doing this in May and June, and this will give the council a little bit more opportunity to digest this stuff. So hopefully we don't have to take any steps back, because there's a very specific process we have to follow for special assessments. And, just trying to avoid getting to public hearings and then having to reset anything. So this starts everything in motion with this resolution.
I should probably, just full disclosure, the reason I'm having Jeremy drive is I'm one of the property owners adjacent, so.
Understood.
I'd move resolution 46, sorry.
Second.
Motion made by Luce, seconded by Hadley for 3246 for the alley improvement project. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Luce,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider professional service agreement with Erdman Engineering for 2022 alley improvement project. We have some background on that, please.
So, I think I can go ahead and talk about this one. Shouldn't be any kind of conflict by any means. So with the process, the council needs to approve or a set of plans and specifications for the project. And while we do have staff and we'll soon have equipment that we can do some of these things, we don't currently have that, and we also have about $1 million, give or take, in street projects that we are planning for as well. And so for the city engineer and the assistant, there are going to be some pieces that we are going to have to contract out. This seems like a good one. It's very dense, and I believe the plan is this is just on the planning portion. The actual project management and site observation is not part of this contract.
Great background, thank you.
Question then, I just want to make sure I understand, the portion of this that makes it so that we can do an assessment costs $28,000. Is that, am I reading that right? Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so that isn't just the assess, because I was like, that's a lot of money to spend so we can assess not very much more money. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd move accepting the contract with Erdman Engineering.
Motion made by Luce,
Zittergruen seconds.
Zittergruen second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Motion carried. Discussion on ad hoc housing committee. I put in the Dropbox a listing of individuals, and I know we've talked about working with housing and trying to figure out what to do, and we need to start someplace. So I've put together members that have agreed to work with, and I'd see this as an initial start to see how we would go. There may be offshoots from that for different projects or whatever. I'm hoping to work with Nathan Thompson, who has put such ad hoc committees together before. But I'm looking for any types of suggestions or questions that the council might have in relation to this ad hoc committee. I think you may know all the people that are on it, and the people that I talked to were enthusiastic about being part of this project as they see that need in the city as well.
Thank you, Mayor, for putting it together. I think it's a great list. Clearly, it was one of our strategic priorities. So just like the RFQ, I think this just moves our goals forward, and I appreciate your work.
Well, and obviously, the initial meeting is going to take a lot to, kind of pull together some thoughts from the people that are involved. Okay?
I could see this being something as a regular quarterly at least, rather than just, oh, when are we going to meet again type of thing.
Okay. I'll put that down as far as making sure that we meet on a timely fashion versus,
Sometimes I'm late to things.
well, you might miss out then.
I think that housing is such an important issue within the city that we really need to address, and I would like to put my name in to volunteer to be on the committee as well, if that's not an issue.
Only that I have to be careful of how many.
Okay.
As long as no other council member wants to participate, you won't have a quorum.
Can they not, you don't want the meetings public?
Pardon?
You don't want the meetings public?
Say that again? No, they would be.
I mean, they're public meetings.
It would
I
be
guess.
public.
But as John might point out, so even like with our committees that have 4 council members, they are public meetings that require public posting and minutes, and because a quorum of council members are together, it's not by any request that it's to keep it secret or anything. It's every time we have additional committee meetings, those minutes need to be not just taken, but then published as well. I'm just trying to streamline the process and get things achieved as that. I guess that was my pointing out that one more makes it a public meeting.
Okay,
I don't want any secrecy or.
I don't want to
anything like
raise
that.
any issues with it, so if that's going to cause issues, I will
wouldn't.
retract my vote.
As long as you're the only one in addition to
As
the
long as
list.
we keep it at 3,
So-
Kristen.
Oh, I see what you're
So-
saying, okay.
So he can be on it. That's, okay, let's do it that way. I will put you on it too.
Again, I'm not trying to do a smoke and mirrors type.
No.
It's
Okay. But we would, anything that we're doing, we're going to be bringing back information on a regular
yeah,
basis.
and
to
it
the
makes it so
council.
it's no longer an ad hoc committee at that point.
Got it.
Okay, city manager, department heads, and council reports.
Yes, so you heard from Prairie Lakes Church, that was going to be an update, that they chose to withdraw their application and will be restarting the process through planning and zoning, coming back with a different request for consideration. Did also apologize for my being late to the street committee. Was asked to participate in the superintendent interviews today, and so I do want to wish the school board best of luck. 3 really good candidates interviewed, and so really liked what I heard as part of that process. And again, best of luck to the school board on honing it in on one. Short of that, was working with Mark on that draft on the RFQ. Really excited to get working on that. Had a lot of excitement again with downtown betterment. Really don't plan on this being a plan if moved forward that sits on the shelf. I think this is generating a lot of excitement that can turn into activity. That's
Okay,
all I have.
Carrie. Department heads. Anything other than what you've got?
Jeremy, can you point out, so I didn't think to report on it because it's second nature this time of year, legislative changes being discussed at the state level. I'll tee one up for you, you swing for the fence on it. So the state of Iowa is currently discussing possible changes, preemptive legislation that would prohibit cities from adopting and enforcing stormwater ordinances. That would be more stringent than the state of Iowa's requirements. All right, ready, Jeremy?
we have
Here we
any?
go.
Which are none.
Jeremy, what are the requirements for the state of? I was teeing him up. So, Jeremy, for everyone else, what are the state of Iowa's requirements with stormwater?
None. None.
So we're seeing a couple pieces of legislation being proposed that are a little alarming. That being one of them. There is some discussion on, and there is proposed legislation on conduit not allowing for cities to require as part of right-of-way that utilities go in conduit. Lots of preemptive legislation, again, to make my job more difficult, our job more difficult.
Can, just as a point of discussion, is it possible for us to send a letter as a council suggesting that we think this is a bad idea?
I certainly can have something drafted and ready to go for the next meeting.
Please.
Perfect.
Especially stormwater.
Stormwater and
And
the conduit.
stormwater lost and the conduit, all to me seem like such regressive actions on things that we have worked hard on to better our community.
I'd like to include the jailing teachers for what they're teaching.
Yeah, maybe the year's worth of lesson plans, the camera in my classroom, you name it.
Yeah, the school's got their own slate of stuff too that is
They
equally.
are just mean-spirited, and
So Ross brought up lost. So local option sales tax, there is a, as part of the, it's being added on as part of the governor's proposal to decrease income tax to a flat tax. It's all kinds of tax legislative changes, but this one is local option sales tax, as it is today, goes away. And the state adopts a 7% throughout the whole state sales tax. But
We'll never
right
see
now,
it. We'll never see the money.
we will never
exactly,
see it.
part of the legislation says that for now, 1% of it will continue to go to cities. It's backfill happening all over again.
Right, will you
We
write
know how
that
that
into the letter
happens.
too? I mean, honestly, the way that the state is moving towards taxes, cities will be completely underfunded. We won't be able to see that money. And it's the most regressive kind of taxation. I mean, what they're proposing is unbelievably regressive. So-
Encourage, I think isn't it once a week the league puts out information on what's going on legislatively?
Yes, so the Iowa League of Cities does have a legislative update every Friday.
Mayor, I'm always worried about my heart.
I know. Okay.
So I will come and, so if you just get it ready,
Mhm.
instead of waiting until the next meeting, can you just let us know and we can
Oh,
come in and sign as
individually,
ready?
If that's the route council wants to go, it doesn't have to be a
Doesn't-
formal from the city. It can just be each individual council member listed and.
I'd like to be a formal action of the council
too.
to communicate.
I'd like to
to
be
the
from
state.
the city.
Yeah. And I would also like to advocate that it be issue specific. If we want to address 3 different pieces of legislation, I'd like to see 3 different communications.
Yep.
Because it might be that some of us are on board with some and not all.
Okay.
But I'm thankful the governor's declared that COVID's over.
Okay.
Praise her
I think
little
we'll,
heart.
I think we'll, I know we're getting towards the end, but let's keep going. Anything else from the department heads? Hearing none? Okay, I promised I was going to do that. I'm going to go with Randy first. You have anything to report?
Well, you should have all gotten it today, but the Chamber Gala is going to be March 18th at Impact Coffee
Okay.
this year.
And let's see.
March 18th, Friday night.
And you have Chamber and Hotel Motel. Did you go to either of those meetings this last month? And there's anything?
We haven't, this came out of the chamber board meeting.
Okay.
We haven't had a hotel motel meeting. That's next week or 2
Okay.
weeks.
Coming up.
Can't remember.
Was there anything else discussed at the chamber meeting that we should know about?
Nothing outside of like Luther canceling the awards luncheon, how we're gonna
Awards
handle that
luncheon.
and recognize outgoing chamber board members for their contributions, and we voted in the new board members.
Emily?
First, I want to apologize to Councilperson Zittergren. I wasn't laughing because actually I really appreciate it when people explain why they're going to vote no. It was more that I felt like we had these things on our agenda for so long that I was lost myself. So I want to publicly apologize. I do appreciate when council members vote no, knowing why they vote no. So thank you. I missed January's sustainability meeting. There is another one next week on Wednesday. I know they are anxious to hear our priorities, and I believe that we agreed that our February work session will be continuing that conversation. And I know one of the things that they would really like to hear from us on is a climate action plan. Jim has sent along some information in terms of how that could get written to achieve the carbon neutrality goal that I think we reaffirmed when we had our strategic goals. So I will be forwarding some stuff on that climate action plan that I think Jim is interested in moving forward with. I do want to wish Councilperson Hadley a happy 50th birthday. Not too far behind you. Thanks everybody for your continued work on the budget. We said thank you. And yeah, COVID's over, so I mean, I feel pretty good.
We will have 2 names at the next meeting for the Sustainability Commission.
Okay.
We had published that a little bit late, and then there was discussion at the sustainability meeting, and so we were allowing a little bit of time, but there should be 2 names coming forth for that.
Oh, no, I think we
Okay.
already talked about.
Kirsten?
Let's see, I just wanted to give one more shout out to Park and Rec for the Winter Walkers program. My wife and I have both signed up for it. It's a wonderful program to get you motivated to get outside during the winter months. We got at least a couple more winter months probably to go, so anybody's interested, just contact Park and Rec, get signed up, and get out there and get walking.
And did you have any Upper Iowa Watershed Board gatherings?
No, we had one back in December, the day after you asked me to be on it.
Okay, that's
and,
good.
I think we
We'll
got
wait
one
to-
coming up in April.
We'll
so.
wait to hear from
yep.
that. Steve Luce,
Hi.
you have anything? You got anything from SMID?
No,
Okay.
they didn't. They only meet when they have bills or business to do. They don't want to meet unnecessarily, so they didn't. We did have a meeting, though, with some of the partners who are looking at downtown housing.
Okay.
And so we have an exciting potential. And in fact, we even talked about some of the space that's in the request for quote map area, possibly looking at the city parking lot next to the food co-op and even extending back into the lower parking lot for a project that would have housing above parking so that we would not lose any parking spaces, but that we would have some very nice downtown housing available for people. And the same group is also considering working with some of the current downtown buildings that could be renovated, I would say would be the word, to 8 to 9 apartments. So it's very exciting that we have a developer who's working with local partners and they're building equity to try and have housing happen in our downtown.
Steve, that reminded me what I forgot. When are we having the next hotel motel discussion before our 2080 agreement?
I believe there was some discussion and wanted to kind of pose that to council, tacking it on to the what's our next council meeting, 21st? 21st?
21st holiday.
Well, that's right, President's Day.
That's right.
So 22nd, does that sound good?
I don't, see, we don't, that isn't a holiday for us, though.
So that's
Okay.
fine. Okay, it's 21st?
21st?
I'll tell
Sound
you
good?
when we get done why that isn't a holiday.
Going
for us.
once, going twice.
Okay.
Science is affirmation. I'm a big fan of that.
21st,
Yep.
okay. Sounds good.
If I may, Mayor, I might want to, I just asked John a quick question. It's a great project, it sounds like. We might have to, for that to fully comply with our zoning ordinance, there might have to be a second look at that, because I believe the way the C3 zone is, the language, that first floor, I think, is supposed to be, let's see, dwelling units above a store or shop is how it's termed.
Are you talking about the one they currently bought or the one they want to build?
If they want to build one that's parking on the primary level and then residential above it, it says it must be dwelling units above a store or shop, so that there needs to be a commercial use of some kind on that main
Is
level.
that for C3?
Yes.
They were also interested in partnering with the city for another year of grant application for downtown upper-level housing. And I assume that that's a yearly type of grant that's available to apply for?
The IEDA, the big one, the downtown housing one, that's the first time they've had that one, and it was done with COVID money. The hope is that it comes back again, and that's the hope. The other one, which is a community catalyst that focuses on remodel of existing, and that's the annual one.
I think they're looking at that one for their other building as well, though.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yes.
Steve Zettergren, anything else?
I've not said anything.
Well,
I just want to make that clear. No, I've got a couple
well,
things.
kind of,
Oh, I see,
kind
I
of,
see,
so.
I see, I see. Happy birthday to Ross. I want to thank Travis so much for getting the North Alley RFQ put together. It's wonderful to see staff being responsive to council member input like that. It really is gratifying, and I'm excited to see where that goes. I've been taking a continuing education series of classes for community leaders, streaming from the organization Strong Towns. That's been really good. The sort of topic last week was 4 quick fixes for improving housing in communities, and looking forward to bringing some pertinent ideas from that video to our first housing meeting, which I want to say my thanks to the mayor for putting me on. I'm excited about that. I think we should do whatever we can to make more housing, especially right in our downtown district, possible. So that's great. I want to shout out the parks and the library for coordinating together. It's good to see our agencies working together to host a preschool children's book and ice skating event last week. I got to take my daughter, ate a lot of free popcorn, and it's great to see our departments figuring out how when they join together they can do even greater things than they kind of alone. So thanks for that. The ice has been busy, and that's really been awesome to see too. I finally just want to say that there was an MEU task force meeting a couple Thursdays ago. We were prepared to discuss any potential communication from the IUB. We are still waiting for them to start their clock, or maybe their clock has started and we don't know. But the main thing that we talked about, since we didn't have that on the agenda, was the education plan. We've been doing a lot of individual one-on-one meetings as a task force. The task force now is hoping to do more community engagement, open to any member of the community who wants to participate. They're planning a series of hybrid, that is both in-person and online, education series where they talk about, where Alliant and Alliance, one of the invited groups to present, but also other municipalities who have municipal electrical utilities, they'll be presenting. So a lot of good information will be put out there for the community to weigh as we consider what the right next step is. So looking forward to those sessions.
Thank you.
I would
Ross?
encourage us all to thank them too for the task force update letter that was in the Dropbox that was very helpful.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I do want to make sure that if you haven't taken a look at that, and members of the community as well, it's a really helpful, comprehensive summary of what the task force has accomplished in its year plus of service.
Can we actually make sure could we get a press release from them that we could put out for their accomplishments and what they've done?
I will send an email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ross?
I also attended the meeting with Steve, and I guess I would like staff to look at the tax or the urban revitalization district established in 1996 in the C3 district. I don't know how long urban revitalization districts last, but sorry, I wanted. It's a Zoom meeting that I attended that I wanted to get the name of. But the urban revitalization district does allow for the use of public land for development, and it has some legalese that I think might be appropriate. The other thing that we would consider as we look at this is that they would be improving a parking lot that's currently not ADA compliant. And if we don't touch it, if we have the agreement with them, I think we can show public benefit. The zoning issue is certainly one, but I think the urban revitalization district is equally important to look at as we continue with discussions, and the fact that if we touch it, we're on the hook for ADA altogether, whereas if we work with a developer to touch it and we can work on stormwater and some other things, it could be a beneficial template for other areas of expansion as well. I did want to ask where we were with fiber. I know we've been busy with budget. I just wanted to touch base there because we haven't had a touch point.
Yep. So quickly on the revitalization, I will check and see if that had a sunset at the time it's adopted or not. I will say, as a change of state legislation last year, 2 years ago possibly, it is capped at 20 years, so anything that was in existence it will sunset in another 19, 18 years if it doesn't have one specified. So what that action does is it makes it extremely difficult to establish an urban renewal or urban revitalization area in an existing area for redevelopment, because your increment is so small that if you can't achieve it in less than 20 years, you're still at a disadvantage. The urban renewal or revitalization area doesn't achieve its desired outcome. Sometimes you need a little bit more time in an existing area. But that's already approved legislation. Can't do much about that. The update on fiber. So Chopper met last week with some individuals that are participating in the background to make that happen. And we were supposed to see a written response from them on what their expectations were of the project. We don't have that yet. Have you talked with RNS lately?
So to get on Travis's comment, I met with West Union and RNS. They had some questions, some concerns about skyrocketing prices on conduit fiber and the length times. So we kind of talked about that a little bit, and shortened meeting for my part of it. They Eric is going to be gone next week, so I don't expect it till early the following week. So I think I was hoping to have it get soon, but I think he's gone next week. So hopefully within the next 2 weeks we'll have that formal letter that John gave us once to kind of see. I think RNS is still on track to provide the bidding documents by March 1. So we're still on track for that.
Okay, and do we know, I know that the precedent for our model was also potentially tied to, our funding look, as we look at budget, was also tied to the lawsuit with Google and the city of Des Moines or West Des Moines. Have we heard any more on that as far as being able to use COVID relief funds toward our fiber plant concept?
There was an update here, was it last week?
Well, yeah, late last week, I think it was Friday, we found out that the state has said that there's no restrictions on ARPA funds for the first 10 million.
Right.
Restrictions, I think, that might affect West Des Moines yet.
Right.
Based on population, but these other smaller communities, it won't affect.
I just want to stress that it was a council priority. It was a strategic priority, and I know you all are working, juggling as many balls in the air and legislative changes. But if there's anything that the council can do to help support your efforts or tasking or anything, I certainly am supportive, and I believe my colleagues are as well. So I appreciate the update, but I want to make sure that we're nose to the ground on that one. And my final thing, I'm sorry, man. It's my birthday, so I'm going to eat my cake. Is I attended a webinar that Winnebago Energy District had recommended on the potential municipalization process of communities in Iowa, and it was very interesting. It was put on, and now my mother-in-law is probably calling to wish me happy birthday, so I can't look at my phone and tell you what it was, who it was. But the gist of it was that as a community looks at the why of a potential municipalization, that they look at they look at the not just the economics and the socioeconomics, but the environmental impact, the long-term environmental impact of not transmitting power, and resiliency, not environment. Sorry, I used the wrong word. So the impact on the community as far as resilience of not being beholden from outside power generation. And we had a prime example of that sometime this winter when we lost power, and we're now looking at pumps. We're now looking at backup. You know, the concept of local power generation for municipalization is an important thing to talk about. And whether that ends up being a partnership or a municipalization effort, local generation of power should be something that, and resilience should be something that we are all eminently aware of because it's affecting our bottom line. So that's all I got. Thanks.
And I was, to that effect, I don't know if they talked about Sterling, Massachusetts, but Sterling, Massachusetts has a municipal utility, but interestingly, they also work with the local utility, but what they were able to do was buy a battery. So they buy power super cheap, keep their battery full, and they essentially never lose power. Right? They have the ability to, and they got that battery with a Department of
DOE
Energy grant, right?
Just like it was a DOE grant like we did for the Alliant battery out at Nordheim.
Yeah, but when you have a MEU, you can get DE funds that you don't have access to if you don't.
Right.
Okay.
Sterling, Massachusetts.
And New Hampton has a similar setup. They have an MEU, and they essentially never have to worry about losing their power.
Okay.
I'll be talking with Travis and Carrie this week about scheduling a time to start talking about salaries and adjustments in the future.
Did you have a Decorah jobs?
No.
Okay. You're on Hotel. This last month, I attended the Wenatchee County Emergency Management Commission's budget and meeting. I went to Wenatchee County Assessors Board. I'm on that in commission for their annual budget consideration. I'm on the Upper Explorerland Transportation Board, which I go, and Jeremy goes the one before me, and I go. And then Iowa League, I am on the Iowa Mayors Association Executive Board, so I do that once a month. Iowa League Leadership Academy, I'm just finishing up on that, besides going to MEU, Sustainability, P&Z, and Board of Adjustment. So I thought I was retired, but not exactly.
Mayor, when is the next transportation meeting?
I will let you know when that is. They put it out, I think is it quarterly? I'll let you know. Or you can talk to Jeremy too to see what his aspect is.
Yeah.
We haven't, hey, Darren, you want to give us an update on the fundraiser last Friday night?
Our gala was a very big success this last Friday night. We did see a few council members that were there. Approximately $61,000 was raised. Minus expenses brings about $55,000 raised on Friday night. So we had a very successful gala.
Good.
Okay.
It was super fun. Thanks.
A lot of fun.
It's great.
Okay, is there anything else to come before the council? Hearing none? Okay, thank you very much for the meeting.